Hello, boys and girls. This is Miss Goen, and I hope you all are doing very well, and I hope you're still working very hard on your math and reading. And so today, my lesson is going to be on using a little bit more of our comprehension skills, but also introducing to you author's purpose. And so let's go ahead and get started. I want to show you how to access the curriculum online first. So the first thing you do is you will go to hcvoe.net, and then you will go to the District Online Learning icon. Then you will click on the grade you wish to access, and then you can choose from English Language Arts, Math, or printable PDF packets. You do not have to print these to be able to use them. You can still see the reading passages and answer the questions or do the graphic organizers on notebook paper. So make sure that just because you can't print, you're not allowing that to stop you from doing the lessons. So today we're going to be talking about a little bit about author's purpose, and that is why the author writes a text. There are different reasons why an author wants to write something. Then we're going to be using our comprehension skills we've used all year long. We're going to take details from the text to complete a graphic organizer, and then we're going to write a short paragraph. First of all, let's talk about author's purpose. One author's purpose, one reason an author writes, is to entertain us. Books like Junie B. Jones and Stone Fox and Diary of a Wimpy Kid are all books that entertain us. They make us laugh, they make us cry. I cried on Stone Fox. And they make us just get into the story, into the characters' lives, and have fun. So we usually just read these books for fun. Now, sometimes your teacher might want you to write a summary of these books, but most of the time they're just for fun and books you would read on your free time. The next reason an author would write is to persuade. To persuade somebody means you want them to think the same way you do. Like if you want to persuade your mom and dad to buy you a new book or a new video game, you would give them all the reasons why they should let you have that new book or video game. One example would be dogs make the best pets. So in this text, the author would give you all the details about why he thinks or she thinks dogs make the best pets. They wouldn't talk about cats, they wouldn't talk about goldfish. They want you to choose a dog for a pet. So that is to persuade. And the last one is to inform. Informational texts give us facts about a topic. They are usually science, social studies, to show you how to build something. All of these texts inform you or give you facts about a topic. So let's go to our passage today and let's take a look at it. The first thing I want you to notice are the text features. Now, we talked about text features. Do you see any text features that the author would have added to help us understand the text better? I hope you chose a diagram or subheadings or bold words. Bold words in a text, the author wants you to stop and look at that bold word, and they're probably words that you might not have heard before. Or if you have heard them before, maybe they're used in a different way in this text. So you need to pay close attention as you read to these bold words. And most of the time, the author will put a definition of that word in the text. And then we have this little number right there. Have you ever seen those numbers when you're reading a text? That is to warn you that there is something about that sentence or that word, and right here it's blowholes, that the author wants you to stop and look at a little note. And they have put a note down here at the bottom of the page. And this is giving you the meaning of the word blowhole. What is a blowhole? It is the nostril of a whale or dolphin on the top of its head. So a nostril are those little holes in your nose. So if I wanted to go over to the diagram and look, it's at the top of its head. So I look right here, and it says 2 blowholes. They're right there. So I know in the text that the author is probably going to tell me why a whale has blowholes on the top of its head. So now let's go on and let's begin reading our passage. Whales. Whales live in the salt water of the ocean, but they are not fish. Whales are mammals. Mammals are a group of animals that give birth to live young, which means they do not lay eggs. Okay, so there I noticed that the author has given me the definition of a mammal. They also feed their babies milk. Whales breathe through their lungs, which are on the inside of their bodies, just like humans. They can stay underwater for a very long time, but they must come to the surface and breathe air through their blowholes. Now I know what the blowholes are for. They help the whales breathe above the water. So that's why when I see movies or videos of whales, I see them coming up to the surface and they're breathing in water. They'll blow out the water that's in the blowhole and then they'll breathe in water or breathe in air. Whales do not have scales, but they do have small hairs on their skin. Whales are warm-blooded. This means they keep the same body temperature all the time. So I've learned what mammals are, I've learned what a blowhole is, and I've learned that warm-blooded means they keep the same body temperature, sort of like humans do. We keep the same body temperature all the time. So now we're going to read about fish. Fish live in the ocean too. Fish can also live in fresh water like lakes, ponds, streams, and rivers. Fish have scales and they breathe through gills which are located on the outside of the body. Fish must stay in water all the time to breathe through their gills. Fish are cold-blooded, which means their body temperature changes if the water temperature changes. After the adults lay eggs, they leave them to hatch on their own. Okay, so I've learned about whales and fish. I wonder what is the author's purpose for writing this passage? We can talk about the structure. He has given us information about whales and he's given us information about fish. So I'm thinking the author wants us to, the reason he's writing, his purpose is so that we can compare and contrast whales and fish. That means he wants us to look at this text and see how they're the same and to see how they're different. So that leads us to our graphic organizer we're going to do today. So if you'll look at the graphic organizer here, I have a column that says whales, and I have a column that says fish, and then I have a small little part down here that says ways they are similar or the things they have in common, the ways that they're the same. So if I wanted to go and begin, I would go back to my text and I would refer back and see what is the first thing that they talk about. It's the animal group that the whales and the fish fit in. So I'm going to go back to my graphic organizer and I'm going to start right there. From the very beginning of our paragraph, they talked about whales are mammals. And then they didn't really give a group for fish because you know why? Fish have their own group. It's called fish. So even though whales are mammals, did you know humans are mammals too? We breathe air, we give birth to live young, we feed our babies milk. Okay, and so we have hair on our body, and then we have skin. We don't have scales. So whales are mammals, and fish are their own group called fish. I'm going to go back to my passage, and I'm going to see. So then we can see that they both live in the ocean. So that is one thing that's similar about whales and fish. Okay, so after you go back and forth to the passage, go back to the passage and find more details. I bet you can find 3 more details that you can put on whales and fish and how they're different, and then find another one of how they're the same. Okay, so then after you read, after you figure out your graphic organizer and complete it, then we're going to write a little some paragraphs. I've got a few here about what our topic is, whales and fish, and how they're similar and different. So the first thing I would do is we talked about when we were writing that you have to have an introduction sentence, and that sentence, an introductory sentence, introduces what you're going to be writing about. It sort of pulls people into the story or the passage or the text you're writing. So mine would be, there are many interesting creatures that live in the ocean. Whales and fish are two of these creatures. Okay, so that's my introduction. And then let's see if you can remember what this part is. They are different from each other, but they do have some similarities. That is our topic sentence. That is what the rest of our writing is going to be about, how they are different and how they are the same. So I just went ahead and made a new paragraph so that you could see how I'm separating their differences and their similarities. So then I go to one difference between whales and fish is that whales breathe with lungs. They must come to the surface and breathe air through their blowhole. On the other hand, fish must stay underwater all the time and use gills to breathe. So let's talk about on the other hand. That's a transitional phrase, and that means I'm getting ready to tell you something that's opposite of what I've just said. I talked about how whales breathe, then I have to talk about how fish breathe, and that's different. So when I want to talk about something is different, I use a transition word. Here are some other transition words that you could use. However, on the other hand, unlike, like, differ, as well as. So if I wanted to use another one of these transition words, I could say whales breathe through their lungs. However, fish must breathe through their gills. Or I could say, unlike fish, whales breathe through their lungs. Or I could say, unlike whales here, I could, instead of saying on the other hand, I could say, unlike whales, fish must stay underwater all the time and use gills to breathe. So, I hope you can finish your graphic organizer. Just do that on notebook paper. And I want you to finish writing these paragraphs. Add a couple of more sentences about something else that's different and similar about whales and fish. So, after you, we could go on to talk about whales have skin. However, fish have scales. So finish writing your paragraph and see if you can, how many details you can put in your paragraph and support that with some of the text. Go back to the passage that we saw earlier. Rewind to the passage so you can be looking at that the same time you're looking at your graphic organizer. And so I hope you enjoyed the lesson today. You'll go back to your graphic organizer and fill in more information about that. So I hope that you have enjoyed the lesson today and make sure you're working hard and read every day. Okay? So I miss you and I hope to see you very soon.